Hey! Hi, it's me, your Void, and May happens. If you have watched my May TBR video, you know how excited I was to read all those books. And I'm actually pretty proud to say that I stuck to that TBR. I did not deviate from that TBR. I only read a fraction of that TBR, but I stuck to it. So let's talk about the wet fart of books that I read for this bingo board that never happened. First up, we have the book that I needed to read, as in the prompt was literally read a book, and I picked Murder in the House of Anubis, and that is pretty much what happened. Someone gets murdered in a temple off towards Anubis, or rather they find a body there. I will give you full spoilers for this because this is a very niche book from 1994, so if you don't read it, your problem. I was expecting absolutely nothing from this book. It's from 1994, so I was expecting some very not so great things. It's a very short book. It's a very interesting setting. I mean, who puts a murder mystery in ancient Egypt? So I was like, okay, we're gonna read it, we're gonna fly through it, we're gonna forget about it. I was positively surprised by this thing. The murder mystery was actually kind of intriguing, and the characters, although most of them were quite out there and very much over the top, were actually kind of funny and interesting. It's a very short book, so we are not dealing with a major conspiracy theory or anything, but the threats were interesting. I did not figure out who it was. I thought I knew who did it after like 50 pages, but then that person turned out to be murdered, so I was like, what the fuck just happened? That was very cool. And yeah, I'm actually glad that I have book 2 and 3 in this series, because I want to know what's happening. The end of this book sets up a, not necessarily conspiracy theory, but I mean, someone wants to replace the king. Everyone always wants to replace the king, right? So I think that's going to play a bigger part in the other books of this series, and we have to figure shit out, but yeah, this was an interesting book. I can't remember what I think I gave it like 4 out of 5 stars actually, which is baffling. Let me quickly check my stats for this one, because I distinctly remember this being better than I ever anticipated it to be. I gave it 3.5 stars, probably because it's a bit out there. Like, you can tell that the author has a PhD in ancient Egyptian stuff. You can tell. There are some expositional pieces where you feel like you are sitting in a lecture hall. And there are also some places where you just have to hit pause on your knowledge of how things work. Just to enjoy the book. It's not jarring necessarily, it's just you just know this is not what happened. You just know. My favorite part has to be the fact that our super cool murder investigator spy of the pharaoh has to juggle in order to think, which is peak stupidity. I love it. Everyone is mocking him for it. Like, why are you throwing sandbags around? And he's like, I need to think. But yeah, pleasantly surprised by Murder in the House of Anubis. I will continue this series. Also, fun fact, the specific edition of this book apparently gets sold for 1,400 euros on the Amazon marketplace. So if anyone wants a very rare ancient book and has 1.5k to spare, hit me up. I'm willing to sell. It's in really good condition. Then we had the prompt of reading something that is under 300 pages, and for that I picked the shortest possible option, which was Gambit by T.K. Eldridge. And I have to say, short and sweet it was not. It felt rushed. I know this thing is being described as a extended prologue for something that T.K. Eldridge has written, and as someone who has not read that stuff that has been written, so I have no context for the prologue, I felt utterly lost. There were like 5 or 6 different characters introduced with full-blown descriptions and characterizations in 50 pages. This thing is just 50 pages long, and we have this computer genius, his best friend, the weird uncle/parent situation, his wife, another friend from far, far away, the ex-boyfriend who's just randomly hanging around with the group. We have, on top of that, the fortune teller and the fortune teller's assistant/partner. It's so many characters. And if you are not getting a description for a character or what they do or how the world works, which is very tell, don't show, and exposition and shit, you get even more exposition. There is no story thread. I'm pretty sure it makes more sense if you read the stuff that this thing belongs to, but as a standalone, it doesn't work. As an introduction to the series later on, it also doesn't work. It does not work. I think you actually have to read the stuff surrounding it and then come back to read this novella or whatever it is for it all to make sense, because you know the characters. But if you just read it on its own like I did, it feels forced, it feels like bad writing, it feels rushed. It just, It didn't do it for me. I think I gave it like 2 stars or something. Like, yeah, it didn't do shit for me. It's like 2 stars. I read it in like an hour and then went on with my life immediately after because it just, nah. And then I read Spectrum by Ethan Cross for the prompt of a reread. I wanted to reread this because I knew Ethan Cross writes books that you can read in like the blink of an eye. They are 400, 500 pages long, yes, but you fly through them because the pacing is just that fast. But I also wanted to reread this because, again, if you have seen my TBR video, you know, since I read this book, I learned a couple of things about myself. Namely that I am on the titular spectrum, just like our main character, August Burke. And I remembered that August Burke is more akin to a Sean Murphy from The Good Doctor. So we have the autism, but we also have the you are a genius in this one particular field thing, also known as being a savant. And in that I was sure that was in this book, and rereading this book confirmed my suspicion. Yes, this character is very much a Good Doctor adjacent character. I have mixed feelings about this book. The story itself is a typical action-packed, fast-paced Ethan Cross thriller. And then we have the character of August and how everyone interacts with him. The character of August, if we have a chapter from his perspective, I'm very much with him. The things and the way he describes them, of how he has to interact with the world and with other people and how it makes him anxious and stuff, I very much get August's perspective. It makes sense. What I don't like is when we are in chapters of other people's perspective and they talk about him. We have characters calling him an alien, the characters close to August, the characters who continually hammer home the fact I take care of him, I make sure that he's safe, that he's comfortable, and blah 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 blah. They make him uncomfortable. Like, literally the character that is responsible for August being there in the first place consistently tells August, you need to be here. Here being a sensory overload hell. And his justification is like, you have talents, God-given talents, that you need to share with mankind, because otherwise they go to waste. Hold for plane. Where was I? We need to share the God-given gift that August Burke has with the world. All August wants is to work in his dad's workshop and fix cars. He has a special interest in American muscle cars, and he knows how to fix them, and his dad has a car workshop where he literally works every day on those cars. That is all August wants to do. He was a bit bored, so he got himself some educational stuff. Like, he has a couple of bachelor's and master's degrees in criminal psychology. He also has a PhD in criminal psychology, because that's also one of his special interests. Hold for motorcycle. And just because August has a special interest in criminal psychology, and he did a little oopsie, which then more or less put him on the radar of the FBI, he is now being forced to work for the FBI. There is not even anything, like, there is no persecution going on. It's literally just his dad being concerned that his son is going to be completely lonely and cut loose from society. So he's like, hey, you have this talent, maybe you want to work with my old buddy who works for the FBI. And August is like, yeah, okay, cool, I can go through a couple of files, and he does that for a couple of months, and he solves crime, but he never expresses any interest in going out in the field. But the FBI guy really wants to go out in the field, and then he just drags August along once he has the chance to be out in the field again. Hold for another plane. And August expresses that. August tells everyone, I don't want to be here, just leave me the fuck alone. At one point he actually runs away. At one point he literally just, he drops off the FBI guys, and then he turns around in his car and just drives away. And honestly, why did you come back, August? Then he's constantly infantilized. He is constantly infantilized by other people. He himself and his FBI buddy are correcting people on the infantilizing stuff. But oh my god, the infantilizing is everywhere. And one thing where I literally recoiled from the book was when August is first introduced to a tactical team. Like, they arrive on scene and the FBI guy introduces August. The guy literally says, this is Dr. August Burke, and before anyone asks, he has autism. Why would you do that? Like August, rightfully so, was pissed. Like, he was like death staring at his FBI guy, like, what the fuck, my man? Why would you do that? I literally don't get it. It's like walking into a room, oh hey, hi, this is my friend and he is gay. What the fuck? No one needs this information. Ah! Hold for another fucking plane! So yes, certain character interactions are just weird, but I still gave it 4 stars because I was entertained. I still think the storyline of the South African, I think she's a constable or something. We have a South African storyline in the background going on, and I still think that storyline is completely unnecessary. I know Ethan Cross's writing, so I know the South Africa storyline was setting something up that should have happened in the following books of this series. But this never became the series, so now the South Africa storyline just feels very pointless, and at a certain point I actually started skipping those chapters because I could. Literally no information was lost on skipping these chapters. Side note, if you want to pick this up, be aware they are using old terminology. They do not say that August is on the autism spectrum, they call it Asperger's. I know there are a lot of opinions about this connotation. I personally do not like to use that term for so many reasons. Other than that, we also have a deaf character in here, which I think was represented in a good way, I guess, but I am not the person to determine that deaf representation in a book is good or bad, because I do not have any trouble with my hearing. Hold for a fucking plane. I guess they're trying to make good on time from yesterday when they had to basically shut down the whole airport because a phosphor bomb was found. And that's already everything I read in May. I almost made it through all of One Dark Window. As you can see, I have, I think, 70 pages. Yeah, 72 pages left of One Dark Window. Pretty sure I give this a 4-star too. It's a good read. I like it. I like everything about it. The problem being there's nothing that sparks my interest, and there's also nothing that is just like completely disappointing me. It's a good, solid read. I do like the nightmare. Very sassy. Love that. I did clog a rather big mystery pretty early on. I don't know if that is intended or not. I just know, okay, I figured it out, and once again I was like, haha, it took you this long to get this to the main character. So yeah, I almost made it through this. This is probably going to be a 4-star. Yeah. There's literally not much to say about it. I don't get the hype, necessarily. This is not the best book I have read in the last decade. It's a good book, it's a solid read, and that's all I can say about it. So yeah, that's it. I didn't get a bingo. I think I came close to one. I think I only missed the 500 plus page read to get it, but I don't know. No bingo for me in the Goober readathon. Am I mad about it? No, not really. I don't think I'm going to count up those points and do whatever the fuck is going to happen next year. This was definitely a month to forget, but also I had a great reading year so far, and in April I read everything, even though I never made a wrap-up. But part of why I never made a wrap-up for April is the reason that I read so much. Maybe I put it out someday. I don't know. Probably not. Who am I to know? So yeah, I read 3 books, 2 of which were solid, 1 of which was nyeh, but also questionable to call that a book with 50 pages in it. And I made my way through almost another one, which was a solid read. Slow month, good month. I'm fine with taking things slower from time to time. So yeah, that was it. That's my wrap up. Guess I see you in the next one. Bye.